One Punch Man has a pretty interesting premise. A superhero so powerful he can take out any threat with just one punch. That's a crazy concept, and it's very easy to fumble. Think about it. How bland would the story be if every interesting villain was taken out with just one punch? So how do you make such a wacky concept work? By making the villains even wackier to compensate. Hey there, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going down a list of the top 10 most powerful villains in One Punch Man. Sit back and get comfortable for this wacky ride. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right in. Number 10. Crablante. Let's start this list off with a small side dish. Just how much do you love crab meat? It's sweet and tender with a bit of ocean flavor mixed in. Well, imagine loving crabs so much that you turn into a crab monster. That's the rather simple and underwhelming backstory of Crablante, a minor villain in One Punch Man. He was once human, but turned into a crab monster after eating too much crab meat. If that's true, then I'm probably gonna turn into a burger monster any day now. Despite his horrible appearance, Crablante is rather fond of his body, so much so that he goes on a relentless killing spree chasing after a boy who had drawn on his body in permanent marker while he was asleep. During his chase, he meets pre-training Saitama and decides to spare him because he sees that Saitama has the same lifeless eyes as he does. Saitama, regardless, decides to stand up against him and defend the poor kid at the risk of his own life. After a rough fight, Crablante has the honor of being Saitama's first defeat in his hero career, and probably the reason for the birth of One Punch Man. Number 9. Dr. Genus. At number 9, we have the genius Dr. Genus, a recurring major villain in One Punch Man. He's a man gifted with amazing intellect, who's disillusioned with the rest of society. He has one goal, and that is to bring humanity to the pinnacle of its potential. To achieve that, he creates the House of Evolution, and uses it to conduct unethical experiments on people, and try to force evolution in humanity. He hopes to create creatures that surpass humanity and even achieve biological perfection. Genus becomes interested in Saitama after seeing him obliterate Mosquito Girl with a single punch, even after she had been powered up by lots of blood. He sends out multitudes of his other monsters, hoping to capture Saitama and bring him in for experimentation, but gets frustrated when Saitama almost too easily defeats them too. He decides to use his last resort, Carnage Kabuto, and when even he is taken out by Saitama after entering Carnage mode, Genus decides to quit his pursuit of forced evolution, realizing that if Saitama could reach this level of power just from working out hard, maybe he was the one who had to change his mindset. Number 8. Mosquito Girl. We can't go on in this list without introducing one of Saitama's most formidable and undefeated opponents, the Mosquito at number 8. Actually no, it's too powerful to be featured on this list, so instead, let's talk about the much less powerful Mosquito Girl. She's one of the mutants from the House of Evolution, turned into an insect monstrosity by being exposed to horrendous amounts of both monster and human blood. Her new form allows her to control large swarms of mosquitoes and grants her superhuman agility and strength. This strength grows depending on how much blood her mosquito swarms can suck out of people, making her a terrifying threat to any hero. Well, any hero except One Punch Man at least. He easily swats her away with one punch, even after she has absorbed her fill of blood and is at her strongest. Maybe this could be training for him to go on and fight the even more powerful common mosquito that lives in his bedroom. Number 7. Speedo Sonic. Sonic, not to be mistaken for his spiky-quilled blue counterpart, zooms in at number 7. He's a master of ninjutsu and a talented assassin, who made the unfortunately poor decision of deciding that Saitama, one of the strongest beings in that universe, would be his rival. Sonic has a natural love for fighting and bloodlust to battle, and shows off his superiority against weaker opponents. That, as well as his large ego, are predictably washed away after one of his battles with Saitama, who defeats him, by accident no less, with a raised fist to the crotch that was felt by male anime fans across the globe. That doesn't deter him, however. In fact, it motivates him to better himself and work on new tricks to finally defeat the beast that is One Punch Man. Saitama still can't be bothered to properly remember his name though. Speedo Sonic is one of the more likable villains in the show, and an enjoyable one to watch, with most of his fights with Saitama being played for laughs at his expense. Number 6. Gory. Our next entry on this list took monstrous gains a little too far in number 6. Gory was a young buff man in the prime of his youth, wanting to develop quick muscle mass as we all do. He trusts a drug created by his scientist brother called Biceps Brachi King, which is labeled as the ultimate steroid. Things go wrong, or right according to the brothers, when Gory screams out in pain and starts growing at an intense speed. He breaks through the ceiling, eventually growing to gigantic heights. Somehow though, this seems like exactly what he wanted. He puts his brother on his shoulder and marches toward the city, looking excited about how big and powerful he's become. He'd truly become the world's strongest man. Well, that's what he thinks anyway, till a mean right hook from Saitama knocks some sense into him and his jaw off his face. Number 5. Garou. We have an interesting character here at number 5. Garou is one of the most complex and difficult threats the Hero Association has ever faced. He's the self-proclaimed hero hunter, who was originally a simple martial artist. One day he gets frustrated with the way things are handled in the Hero Association and decides to take matters into his own hands. He's a confident and vindictive man, driven by a fascination with monsters and a hatred for heroes, often being referred to as the human monster. That's a pretty cool name. As a kid, he was bullied relentlessly, being forced by kids at his school to roleplay as the villain, while the self-proclaimed hero beat him. It was mostly just an excuse to rough up the poor kid. These events led him to develop a soft spot for villains in general, and hate popular heroes. He's almost like a perfect counterpart to Saitama. Saitama, who wants to become the strongest hero who can defeat any villain, while Garou wants to become a fearsome villain that defeats heroes. Number 4. Koketsu. Koketsu was a dragon-level threat and a high-ranking member of the Monster Association, and he comes in at number 4. He's a particularly dangerous threat to the Hero Association, being calm and calculated in his plans, while still having boundless cruelty and sadism, just like every other monster. He was once a strong human who participated in martial arts tournaments regularly. One day, he's challenged by Monster King Orochi to a fight, where he's thoroughly defeated and captured alive. He's brought to the Monster Association headquarters, where he's given the choice to eat a monster cell and join them or perish. He naturally agrees to the option that would keep him alive, and becomes a member of the Monster Association. This transformation gives him immense physical abilities that he could never dream of achieving as a human. His having a combination of enhanced superhuman abilities, while still retaining knowledge of his martial arts prowess, made him a deadly force that few could deal with. Well, few except one, that is. I'll let you guess who that one is. Number 3. Deep Sea King. Deep Sea King at number 3 was the ruler of the sea folk, and a monster that thrived in wet combat. Literally. He has two forms, a dry form which looks to have the strength of an average human. Even I could probably take him down. His second form, however, is tall, powerful, and incredibly menacing. He emerges from the sea during a thunderstorm, ensuring that he'll have a virtually unlimited supply of water to keep him in his enhanced form. He uses this form to unleash devastating amounts of damage on the city, with his crazy levels of speed, strength, and agility. His true power, however, comes from his regeneration ability, which allows him to heal and recover from any wound in seconds after it's been inflicted. This makes him a terrifying damage sponge that could take some of Geno's best attacks head-on. To defeat him, Saitama had to deliver a punch so devastating that it immediately cleared the clouds and stopped the rain, rendering Deep Sea King's regeneration useless. Number 2. Carnage Kabuto. Rampaging their way into number 2, we have Carnage Kabuto. Carnage Kabuto was an artificial mutant created by Dr. Genus, with a vast pool of power, so immense that Dr. Genus only resorted to freeing him when all hope looked lost for him. Kabuto was an insatiable wild card, with an uncontrollable bloodlust that forced Dr. Genus to lock him away, for fear of him going berserk. Kabuto saw himself as vastly superior, believing that all humans should submit to him and make him king. When he hears that someone powerful like Saitama is close by, he immediately rushes at the opportunity to fight a strong opponent. He brushes off Geno's attacks like a kid throwing pebbles, not even being slightly affected by some of Geno's most powerful attacks. Despite all this, however, he has a natural survival instinct, being able to sense the raw power coming off of Saitama and reflexively backing away. Still, his pride and short temper forced him into a fight with the bald hero, which he promptly lost. Number 1. Boros. Ruling the list naturally as he was destined to, we have a kindred spirit to the overpowered Saitama. Lord Boros led a group of alien invaders called the Dark Matter Thieves. He's an intergalactic threat who traveled the universe in search of worthy opponents to battle. Just like Saitama, he felt like he had reached the peak of strength that was possibly attainable and became bored once he realized he was stronger than every threat he came up against. However, unlike Saitama, who chooses to live a quiet life surrounded by the little joys, Boros sets out on a quest that makes him prideful and arrogant, defeating strong people on every planet he can find. When he finally finds and challenges Saitama, he's filled with immense respect at finally finding an opponent that makes him break a sweat. He's even more surprised when Saitama forces him into a position where he has to use his ultimate power-up, the Meteoric Burst. In the end though, he's still no match for Saitama, but unlike most villains, he seems to be at peace with his death. This was what his journey had always been leading up to. Finding someone who was stronger than him had always been his ultimate goal. Simply put, it seems no one can truly defeat One Punch Man. And there you have it, our list of some of One Punch Man's crazy and powerful villains. This only scratches the surface with just how deep One Punch Man's villain rabbit hole goes. If you're curious to see more top 10 videos from One Punch Man, make sure to give a serious punch to that subscribe button and leave a like on the video to support the channel. And hey, while you're at it, drop a comment on who your favorite One Punch Man villain is. Thanks for watching and see you next time.